Can boys put on dresses? Do girls have short hair or long hair?
Long hair.
Our survey consisted of multiple pictures of random people from the internet. We selected people from different races and cultures to see if that impacted people's point of views on them. Races included a teenager who was a black male, a white boy, an Indian male, a black female, a white male who appeared to be homeless, an Asian male, and a black female.
Our survey had several questions, such as the present profession of the person and the race of the individual who was filling out the survey. The profession of people in our society is what defines us and how successful our society measures us as citizens in America, which is precisely the reason why we included people of different races and genders to see what people first thought of.
What would happen if you put on a dress?
All the girls and all the boys will laugh at me.
We're able to make the survey anonymous, so people could speak the truth and see what people really say. This made the survey more realistic to what people really thought and avoided response bias so people wouldn't feel judged on their responses and say something that was safe and not necessarily their true opinion. This resulted in an honest survey and patterns of how people responded to the professions of the people we represented were analyzed along with the race of the participants taking the question.
Who takes care of the babies?
That's fine.
Who goes to work?
This one.
The generalization that all girls are weaker than males is not true, and in fact there are many times where females outperform elite males in their respective sports. Coercive sex segregation has forced women to accept a society that kept them from reaching their potential and stay at home while their husband went out to work. Feats where a woman have broke the barrier and proved that they could compete with men began chipping away at this institution of sexism and invited more women behind them to also break the barrier. One such woman to do so was Pamela Reed, who ran in an extreme ultramarathon for over 300 miles in the western United States, while also surpassing the next male by over 40 miles. Researchers showed that the average size and overall athleticism of females in the United States has increased significantly due to more training opportunities that weren't available to females prior to the late 1970s. Ever since Title IX came to be, females have become more empowered to participate in sports, and a steady increase of females joining athletic programs in high school and college was observed.
Boys are better than girls.
Why?
Because boys are stronger than the girls.
The problem was not that females were not as athletic as males, but it was the fact that they were not given the same opportunities to lift and train due to societal pressures and the fact that males were seen as the more superior sex. It was so rooted into our society that doctors and professors believed that if women got a higher education or participated in sports, their sex organs would stop functioning and become completely sterile. Victorian psychiatrist Henry Maudsley explained how conservation of energy in the body would impact a woman's ability to have children, while Dr. Edward H. Clark from Harvard wrote a book explaining how the sophisticated reproductive organs of the female body would not allow them to perform in a higher education or athletics. These lies were mostly skewed to form a societal pressure on women to essentially stay at home and watch out for their children, while the father was the breadwinner and worked for money to pay for everyday life. This kept women from gaining any powers in a male-dominated society and constrained them to the home, while some had true potential to go to the college or participate in sports.
This experiment was an overall success. We received very honest responses, which added to the authenticity of our project. We got the answers we predicted, and the results supported our hypothesis. Our survey received very stereotypical responses, and in some cases we got racist answers regarding the profession of certain images. For example, the Indian man had the answer terrorist, suicide bomber, and said 3 times, and the answer unemployed at 32%. The responses we received for the profession of the individual most often were connected to the clothes that they were wearing. In our picture of the young black man with a hat on, the most common response was rapper, 25% of the time. For the young white man in a suit and tie, the most common response was businessman at 47%. An interesting observation was that there were not many outlying responses. No one wrote down for the Indian man that he could have been a CEO of a company, or that the black man with the hat could have been a business owner.
The data shows that we did not get these responses because the individuals did not look like any of those jobs. Everyone gave a response based solely on how the individual dressed and looked. Our survey showed that the most common thing people base their opinion on is the appearance of an individual. When it came to determining the jobs of the black woman in our survey, people assumed that the woman who was better dressed was a model or designer, while the female with the colored hair was seen as a stripper or hairdresser. These characteristics of women are labels that society has placed on them, which limits their capabilities to careers that are low paid and seem insignificant to others, while there are many women CEOs and managers that exist today. Our survey also revealed how false these assumptions can be. In the haste of our daily lives, as a society we are constantly judging based on appearance. We walk down the street and see a man on a motorcycle with ripped jeans and covered in tattoos. We assume he is a violent or intimidating man. It's not until we talk to him that we realize he could be a loving father who goes to church every Sunday and wouldn't harm a fly. Until we sit down with another human being and have a conversation with them, we will never know who they truly are. When we don't talk to people, all we can do is construct our own vision of who they are and write our own story of them. The harsh reality is that most of the time, our assumptions are wrong and hurtful.